Welcome back, gamers, to the Game Master Dungeon. I'm Brian, your Game Master. Today I'm going to do a little painting video for you. I got in the mood to paint my Stormcast Eternals. I've kind of been working on some different models, really working on the paint scheme. So I was going, been watching a lot of videos online, a lot of people painting, and everybody does like this gold, blue scheme, which is like all over the cover of the book, right there. I don't know, it's something about gold and blue. I don't know, it just, everybody's doing it. I wanted something a little different, so I got to look through the book, and I was looking at all the different like these 6 here. And first I was looking at the turquoise. Hoping you guys see that. Hopefully. I was looking at the turquoise. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then there's like this bronze with purple. It's kind of cool. But I really kind of settled on the Anvils of the Heldenhammer. They're black, red, and gold. Pretty simple paint scheme, honestly. Like, this picture doesn't really do it justice. Let me show you. I've got one of my Retributors painted here from the starter set. So obviously he's black, gold, and red. So like there was like the little symbol of Cygnar there in the on the leg plate. And I was like, okay, that's cool, but you know what, let's give it, instead of just having it black with the white, let's give it a little bit of background. So let's do some red. Thought it looked pretty cool. Red on the halves for the hammers. Instead of like silver weapons and metal weapons like a lot of people do, I did gold weapons, bronze. I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. I liked how it turned out. Here on the little skirt thing, I did red with the little chainmail thing. Then I did, gold on all the shoulder pads and the halo. So you see blue on the hair. Blue's my favorite color, and it's kind of like my signature. Like, even like my Dark Angels and stuff, like they have like a little bit of blue on them somewhere. It's kind of like my signature, because blue's, like I said, blue's my favorite color. Every painter has their certain signature. Either they paint something a certain way, or they add a certain color, or they like to use a certain type of shade, that kind of stuff. Then there's, the scrolls, the backpack. I decided just to leave this thing just all gold with just some highlights on it, instead of painting like the Cygnar symbol white. For some reason it's more aesthetically pleasing to me, because I tried it with white, but it was just white with the gold with, like the dark color on the scroll paper here was just, I don't know, it was too clashy for me, so I just repainted it gold. The base, so I like black rims around my bases, so after I'm done I'll paint the rim black again, so then, I don't know, it's aesthetically pleasing to me. Then I have like some, on the base I just use some sand here. I got 3 different types of sand in there. So I got like some bigger rocks, then I've got some really fine sand, and then I have a little bit like a medium coarse sand that I've all kind of mixed together. And then I'll shake it up, stir it around, dip my model in there, so I get like variation in the texturing. So today we're going to be working on just a Liberator that I've got primed, ready to paint. I've painted the other 4 guys of his unit. Let me kind of show you what I did, what I didn't like, and what I might change. So here's this guy. So you saw in the picture in the book, so the shield is supposed to be like black with just the white. But I'm like, you know what, that's an awful lot of black. Let's change it up. Let's put some red on there. I highlighted over it with some Evil Sun Scarlet. It ended up being a little more orange than I wanted it, so I might go back and repaint the shield back with my dark red. I'm going to go through the steps here in a minute, and then I obviously got my white symbol, my gold on the top, with some highlights, and I just do, because, and then the book shows like this part's supposed to be black. Let me point it a little better. Like this part here is supposed to be black with just gold trim, and I was like, that's an awful lot of black. Plus, then it looks like a Space Marine. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just do all gold shoulder pads with, you know, just some highlights on there. Painted the halo gold. I kept with the red with the skirt thing, the kilt. So these guys don't have hair, but I put blue on the sword scabbard there, which I kind of like. Like I said, it's my signature. You might think it clashes a little bit, but you know what? I find it pleasing to the eye. Once again, I stuck with the gold weapons, and then just some gray highlights there, just some edging, just a little bit. I don't do a ton of detail on like the rank and file guys, even though they're not really rank and file. I want to just get them, paint them on the fields. Like if you look at my Retributor though, I took a little more time versus this guy. Just because these are like a more of an elite unit to me. But obviously there's still some changes that I'm going to try to do, and we're going to paint this other guy up here, and we're going to see how that turns out. And then I washed the base. I used a different color on the base on these guys just to try something out, and I didn't like it. So I re-washed it with a darker color. Still got the same sand on there. Then I'll go back and dry brush it a couple of different layers and try to bring that back out. And still sticking with the black rim on the base. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to get my paints and my brushes, and I'm going to get ready, and we'll be back in a second. Alrighty, welcome back. So, got my paints and everything ready, so let's kind of get started here. So, what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to do the base black. For that, using Abaddon Black. I got my palette over here with some water in there. So let's see what we can do. So black is super easy, so nobody's ever painted with black before. It goes on pretty good. Black covers really well because of its super dark pigments. Then you're wondering probably why I didn't use like a black primer, because all I really have is gray primer, but I use a very generic priming base of gray for every model that I paint, just because then it gives me like the same consistent color. So even if I paint red on top of this, or I paint gold on top of this, it's going to all look the same. I used to use white, but then I found that white makes everything lighter when you paint it. Obviously I glued the shield on because I wanted to get them built and played. So obviously doing on the inside is going to be a little more difficult, but you know what, we'll survive with it. If I ever buy another box of these guys, then obviously I will paint them without the shield on, paint the shield separate, because obviously it'll make it a little easier. Obviously I don't have the best brush control with this big brush, but it's okay, because I will go back with other colors and we'll just go over the top of it. So obviously you guys get the gist, right? So I'll finish this up and then I will come back once it's dried. Alright gamers, welcome back. As you will see, it looks like I did get a little carried away. I got some other models in the works over here, and I was just doing my Retributor armor on some of them, and I was just like, oh, this guy still needs, this guy still needs gold. Totally forgot. I wanted to show you how I was doing it. I can just quickly go over it though. It's pretty simple stuff. So Retributor armor, thin it down a little bit with some water. Get my little pointer here. So you go around the edge of the shield. This one's got like a little lightning bolt looking thing on the front. Just make sure you get it everywhere. Do your edges of your shield as well. Don't forget that. Then I just do it on all over the shoulder pads, and then I did a little halo. Did the weapon, and down until where it connects to the haft. The little nub at the end there. Looks like it's gold. Did the trim on the sword scabbard. Here and here. Little golden icon on the belt. And I decided to try this gold chain thing on the waist. Because now I'm looking at it and I'm like, versus, as I went back and I did paint his shield black to see how it goes with the rest of the scheme. I'm thinking I think I like the gold, to be honest with you, on there. So we're just going to stick with it. I can always go back and just repaint those. But now we're just going to do the rest of the base colors. It's just the stuff around the waist here. So we're going to start with the red here on this little sash thing. So we just got some Khorne Red. Give it a shake. You know, and it's small enough amount, you can probably just go right out of the pot. You know, wet the brush a little bit. Don't want a ton because I don't want it to get everywhere. You know what? Let me go to my finer brush just to make sure. No mistakes. So I got this little number. What is this? A 3/0 round, super fine tip on it. Let me just get in there. I do like the handle to be red as well on the sword, because I'm going to make the handle red on the weapon. And the hammer, so I like to be a little bit of uniformity in my painting. We'll see how all this, just a little bit of red, because I wanted a little more red on there, because like I said, I didn't do the shoulder pads red, black. I thought, you know what, maybe just add a little more red to be a little more contrast. But actually I ended up not liking the way the sash thing looks now that I've got this one painted in gold. So we're going to go back and change that. There we go. Just make sure we get a nice even coat everywhere. Because we're actually going to wash or shade these models here in a few, once this all dries. And we'll go to the weapon. To the edge there of that. I know it is hard to paint and narrate at the same time. So long moments of silence, just bear with me. Sometimes you gotta like put your hands together for some brace. There. Just so you don't make too big of a mess. And obviously I'm using an old paint pot that I had with some poster tack on the top of it. What was this? Brown ink is what it was back in the day. Also remember there's a red up in the hand grip there because it's just the thumb that crosses over. So make sure we got a nice even coat. Alright, not bad on the red. Then our brush. Let's do the blue on the sword scabbard. Like I said, people are probably gonna be like, "Oh, it looks terrible." Like I said, I gotta have a little bit of blue. It's my signature. I like to use some P3. I got some Cygnar blue base. The one thing I do like about the P3 paints, they're pretty usable, like straight out of the pot. You don't really have to dilute them unless you're going to be doing like a large model with them. So we're just going to get in here. And we're just going to paint off all the blue. Be careful right there. Obviously, if you don't get right up next to the gold, it'll be okay. Because like I said, we're going to wash the model, so that little seam or whatever, wash is going to go in there, so it's going to be okay. Just remember we have to turn the model around, get on the top of the scabbard, get on the back of it. Hopefully you guys can see this well enough. Like where I paint, I don't really have a ton of room to put the camera like right behind, to go like over the shoulder, so it's kind of at an angle. But there we go. There's the blue. Easy peasy. And now we just got to do a little scroll, dude. Scroll. My scroll work, my paper kind of stuff. I can do purity seals and stuff like that pretty easy, but large sections sometimes give me trouble, like, especially with like highlighting and stuff like that. But I like to start with some Auric stone, and then on top we've got some Screaming Skull we can highlight with. Alright, back to our little bit bigger brush. Paint pot right there. A little water, make sure it flows well. Don't want streaks. And we just go on here like so. Make sure we get it all really good, especially like down in the crevices, but don't get too crazy down in the crevices. You don't want it really thick, because then it's gonna, when you do the wash isn't gonna go in there very well, and it's not gonna show super great. Because that's one of the biggest details on this particular model, is just that scroll work, because it looks really good when you get it done well. Front. You know, like I said, don't be super selective on like how you get the like right next to like where the gold is. Like you even get it as close as you can, but obviously once we do the wash, it's going to settle around in there, and it's really going to just blend in that joint anyway. Same with up here by the sword. Get as close as you can. Got a little bit of it on the black there. Let me see if I can rescue that. we go. Crisis averted. Okay. So those look to be all of our base colors. So far, so good. I'm digging it. Alright, so we're just going to let this dry real good before we do the wash. Because if it's even just a little bit moist, it'll smear everywhere. It'll look nasty. So I will be back when this is 100% dry. Alright, gamers, welcome back. So it looks like we are pretty well dry here. Time for some wash. This is really going to where like all this gold and the red are going to come to life. So normally I use Agrax Earthshade, but looking at it this morning, getting pretty low. I probably have just enough to finish this model, which is good. So let's get a brush here. So you just load your brush. So it's nice you can kind of like go onto the black if you need to with it. Because it's not really going to show. Basically, so make sure it gets down in these little recesses here. Alright. At the top. Onto the shoulder pads. So make sure it doesn't pool on the top. And you have some excess on the brush, just go to a different area, right? And then just work on getting that off. You have to like pull it down a little bit into that recess, and then you just use what you get out. Go to the next area. You know, just kind of use your brush as a sponge a little bit. Move that around like so. On this side, same principle. So this one's got like that little hammer insignia on there that we want to get around. Make sure we're getting it down in all the recesses. And like right there, that's good right there. Get up on the top. Make sure we're not pooling too much on the areas that we're going to highlight later. Halo, nice and easy. Just go over the top of it like so. Get that done. The weapon. Same thing with the top of the shield. Just make sure we get it in the crevices. Just kind of go over the whole thing with it. Even on the top, we're going to highlight it later so we can clean it up. Hit the red with it too. Parchment. See, there we go. That's beautiful right there. Look at that. Make sure we get it everywhere we need. I want to make sure, like we got that pooling right there. Make sure we don't let that happen. Get the sword pieces here. Hilt of the sword. And this way here we can just kind of like go to town with. And most of this is going to be in shadow down there anyway, because with the shield and the size of the chest plate, most of that's going to be obscured. So just make sure we get a little icon on the belt. Do the back. Little skirt thing. I don't even know what you want to call it. I really make sure we get it up in here this chainmail looking stuff. You have to just kind of like use your brush to just like dab it in. Make sure we're not having too big of pools. But we want to make sure that everywhere is getting some. Because that right there will be good. Because it's a bit darker down in here than it will in there. Just do it like that. Just to get that shadow up there. Alright, there we go. It's almost done. So the next step is just going to be highlights, but obviously the wash has got to completely dry. I'd give it at least an hour, maybe two, to make sure it's all nice and dry, because it's going to shrink a little bit. There may need some touch-ups just depending upon how it is, because sometimes, you know, gravity will pull it down, especially right there. There was this one trick I used to use where you would turn it upside down, and you'd like get like some sticks or something, put it like that over the top of a cup or something like that, and you would let it sit. That's how I did. So I have Saint Celestine for the Sisters of Battle, like her flowing cape cloak thing. That's how I did it. I washed it, then I put it over a cup and held it like that for a while. Let it dry, so it dried up into the, you know, the tight folds and not so much in the open folds. But I think this will do good. Okay, so we'll be back once that's all dry. Alright, so now all this here is dry. So the washes are dry, so now we're ready for some highlights. So let's get started. So first we're going to do the gold. We're going to use Auric Armor Gold. It's a really nice, bright gold. Works really well on top of that Retributor armor. Make sure you give it a good shake. Alright. And then really, like, it's not too much. You can almost use the paint just pretty much straight out of the pot, because you're really just doing some little highlights, but I like to add a little water anyway. So let's start. So I like to do like the edge of the top of the shield, because obviously that's going to see some light, like right here. This little lip right there. That's going to see a little bit of light. As it goes down, it's going to be less and less. So I don't go all the way. And obviously I do a little bit right up here as well. And then maybe a little bit on the side here. Like so. Super simple. A little paint. So obviously here on top of the shoulder pad, that's going to see a lot of sun. So I just kind of basically I make like a big, there's like a big spot there, and I leave some of that old color behind there, like so. And maybe I'll put a little bit on the palette here, wet it down. There we go. Then obviously like the edge of the shoulder pad, like the top, obviously like I said, so like way down there, won't see as much, so I just kind of give it a little bit of like this. And obviously here in the front, you'll see a little bit like that. Okay. Obviously the halo on the top is going to see some love from the sun. Really, that's all you got to do for that. And I guess you can kind of maybe do a little bit on the tip right there. Obviously the top of the hammer, the back end of it, a little bit. And we'll just do the edge of the hammer, like so. Obviously, since this edge kind of sticks out a little bit, we're going to do a little bit like right there with some gold. This one over here. Now, so it's got this little symbol there. And I thought about, do I paint that a different color or do I not? And I decided not to. So basically I just highlight it. I just use some of the gold, do the edges of the pauldron like so. Hopefully that was in focus there, as you can see. Just do a little bit here, like so. Get in there, like that. Basically do it the same way I did over here. Obviously this thing is just right here. So I'm going to make sure it gets the highlights as well. I mean, I could, you know, I could do it a different color, but I really like the way it looks. Like, you really like this guy, you know, after it dries. I kind of like the way it looks. I don't know. Plus, it's a little simpler too. You usually get them onto the table. You know, in model painting is really all about what's pleasing to you to look at, because obviously it's your art. We're going to do a little bit down here on this thing. Now these little scales in here, you just kind of use the tip of the brush there, and you can just kind of pick out a few. Do a little overbrushing there. Obviously the handle of the sword. Gonna get some love. This thing's gonna be seen a little bit. Top of it, like that. Obviously this shoulder's a little more exposed, so we're gonna do a little more around the edge there, like so. And the edge like that. Boom. And that's the gold. Alright, so let's go on to the red. So now it's one of those things. So I used my 50-50 Khorne Red, Abaddon Black mixture. So obviously we're not going to want to go right to Evil Sun Scarlet. Let's see. I mean, we could just do a little highlight in Khorne Red, but if you want to make it a little brighter, you can just go right to Mephiston Red. Let's take a look at that. Do a little shake here. Because there's nothing wrong with using multiple base layer paints. Like I said, it's all about how you want it to look. Like, these are just, I don't want to say rank and file, but these are Liberators. They're not like the super elite guys. So do I need to do 50 layers? To me, no. Like one layer of highlights after the wash. You know, so if you can see that well enough, maybe I'm going to get a little closer there. Just a little bit. And then up here on the weapon, just kind of go with the grain because it's wrapped like this way. So you're going to kind of want to get in there and just kind of go with the grain. Obviously the bottom of it's still going to stay dark, so you don't have to hit the top of that, or the bottom of it, but you do want to hit the top. Some of you might be like, oh, that's super bright red. Well, once it dries, it'll be a little darker. There we go. So let's do the blue on the scabbard. So my base was my Cygnar blue base from P3. I like to just use the Cygnar blue highlight. I bought because I play Cygnar. So I have a Cygnar army, so I have their paint set just to make it easy. And I do like their P3 paints. Mostly because I can just use them like right out of the pot. So obviously we're just gonna highlight the edge there a little bit. And we're just gonna paint like the middle where it would be seen the most. And then we're just gonna leave some of that dark blue wash down in there. And I really like see like the top of that. You would be like, oh, but if you look at it standing up, the arm covers it. Is that going to be seen by light? Probably not the way that model is standing. Easy peasy. Okay, now the fun part. Let's get on to the white on the shield. So I'm just going to use some good old Ceramite White. I mean, I could base it in gray and then paint over it with white. But Ceramite White is it's a base, not a layer, so it actually covers pretty well. Let's see how well we can do. Make sure I'm in focus there. This is where you need hand control. I'm not saying I have the best hand control, but that's why I put your hands together, brace your arms on the table as much as you need. Oh, yep. I even overstepped a little bit. Let's see if I can save that, shall we? Yeah, not really. It dried pretty quick. Well, don't fret too much if that happens. I mean, you are painting over black, so you can just go back with black and just patch that right quick. Sometimes it is difficult to talk and paint at the same time, especially when you're doing this like fine detail work. So don't mind me if I focus for a second here. See, I'm still debating whether I like the white hammer insignia or if I like it gold. Because I'll show you my, because I've got the prime in the works over here. Obviously his shield is a little more illustrious. It's got more detail on it. It's got a bigger insignia. So I painted his gold, because I'm like, you know what? He's the prime. He's worked his way up the ranks. He can be gold if he wants. Or he would have a gold shield, in my mind. Just going to go back over this here to make sure it's a nice even coat of white. There we go. Crisis averted. So I've left some comments about what you think about this color scheme. Obviously not just mine, because I kind of took my own. Took my own take on it. But just like the black armor, like, do you think it's... Obviously it's in the book. You know, and I'm against that gold blue. Those of you that like the gold blue, nothing wrong with it. I just, like, that's all the artwork. I want something else. I want something different for my army. I mean, maybe single models themselves don't look that good, but once you get like a whole unit going, I think they look pretty good, to be honest with you. Just touch up this left one here, just to make sure it's nice and white there. And a little black, go back in there and fix those little spots. Switch gears to my teeny tiny brush, using my, let's get the 3.0 round, super fine brush there. You know, and this brush is only for like the tiniest of details. Alright, well that's about most of it. So now the fun part, we are going to do the highlights on the black armor. So this I'll do 2 coats with, or 2 levels of highlights. So first one I'm going to use Iron Hull Gray from P3. It's a nice medium gray. I'm going to go back to my number 3 brush. So what I like about the P3, I could just like take it right out of the pot, and I can use the lid there to make a flat surface. Obviously, the thing about black armor is it's all like edge highlighted. Thing about black is, like I said, the more I did it, the easier it got. A little right there, obviously here on this raised area would be maybe right here, obviously back here on the back of the boot, right there, a little bit like right on the toe there, and those little joints like that, maybe right there. Back of the neck. Top of the head. Arm guard. Right there. Right there. The fun part is like around the face, because we got these areas here, we got the top of the head, we got the nose. Now the fun one is like right under the eyes. Just a teeny tiny bit on the end of the brush. Just like that. And on the top of the gorget here. The top of the pec muscles. Because most of the time you can, like, as the light's shining down from above, like, so you can actually see what it is you're doing, you can see where most of the light's going to go. So you can just paint that. Top of the hand, here on the arm, top of the knee. Little raised areas on the boot there. A little bit right there. Just do that like so. Back of this. Right there. Like that. Right there. Right there. Top of this finger here. A couple fingers down. Top of the hand. Right there. Alright. So that's that. So now I'm going to use Administratum Gray. So now we just need a little bit of this. So now we're going to go back here. We're just going to touch like in the middle. Some of these areas, just little bits. Just little bits. Just the highest areas. You want to leave some of that old gray kicking around there. There we go. Not bad. I'm going to do a little highlight on that paperwork there. Use a little bit of Screaming Skull. I really kind of got to where I'm just very little, just like some edge highlighting on this paper. Otherwise, I just end up screwing it up. So, like, I'll just kind of go like, you know, like that. Like right there. I'm getting a lot of it's like covered with the arms, so a lot of it wouldn't see a lot of sun anyway. that's really about it. I mean, for me. I mean, can I do more? Yeah. Does it look good enough for me? Yeah, it looks good enough for me. I probably wouldn't put any more on this. Probably just going to do the base. So I'm probably going to go ahead and do the base now. Let's see. Take them off. Let's see. I've got my Elmer's, my glue here, my clear glue. I only use it because I got it cheap, so yeah, I put a bunch on there just to make sure that I've got enough to hold everything on there. Actually, this get you an old, nasty old brush here. Just a nasty old brush. Spread it around. Make sure you keep it relatively thick glue, because if it's too thin, like I realized some of the other guys that I didn't put it on thick enough, so it didn't hold. It didn't hold a lot of the stone and the sand on that I had, so I'm gonna put it on a little thicker, and we'll see how it turns out. So now, and also some people will paint their bases first. Like, so say I'm going to do like a stone color or whatever, they paint it stone color, then they put the stuff on there. I don't like to do that. I just keep it gray, and then I just wash the base, the texturing afterwards. That normally gets me the color and effect that I want. Alright, so I've got this kind of sand stony mixture that I've made. I got 3 different types of sand in there. I got really fine sand, like a medium sand. Then I had like these little rocky substance in there. So we just kind of mix it around here. We'll dip them in there. Use your finger to kind of just go around the base like so. You know, don't ever be afraid to like extra dip and just kind of press if you feel that maybe it's not going on as thick as you like. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, see, now his feet are kind of buried in that, so now it looks kind of like a very there's like loose stone and stuff, and he's holding his ground, ready to go. So basically now we're just going to wait until that dries. I'll come back and do the wash. That'll have to dry. Then I'll do the dry brushing, and then I'll show you the final product. Okay, so now we got the basing stuff on there. It's dried, and I've already washed it with Saffron Sepia. So now we're just going to do a couple of layers of dry brushing right quick here, and then we'll paint the edge of the base. Then this guy will be done. Let's see. Let's get a good brush here. So we're going to do a couple of layers. So we're going to start with some Auric stone here. So dry brushing, you want to get some paint on your brush, and you work it into the bristles, and you rub it on the paper towel, just like that. I'm just going to go over the top here, just to get all those raised areas. there's that layer. Now we're going to go on to the top layer. Use a little bit of Screaming Skull. And we do the same thing with the dry brushing. We'll paint on the brush. Get it into the bristles. And it really depends upon, you know. So I wanted a little bit more here, so I left a little bit more paint on the bristles so that I can really see it in action there. And then you can just dry brush as much or little as you want. There we go. Clean out our brush. So now all we're going to do, we're just going to paint the rim of the model there. I want to stick him back on his little base thing here, like that. So I like to do black because I like the way the black edging looks. Looks like, you know, just the regular base does right out of the package. Because then it just really puts the focus just on what's on top of the base. So we'll get a decent sized brush here. Now the biggest thing is just to make sure you're careful and not get the black up on top of the stone there. Just kind of go around in the same direction. And we'll paint if you need. Alright, and there he is. So that's my paint scheme. Not super difficult. The black armor is pretty easy to paint. It's just basically black, gold, little red. Paint that shield, paint the little symbol white there on the front of the shield. And there we go. Well, let me know what you think. Put some comments in the comment section below there. Make sure you like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time on the Game Master Dungeon.